And it was a surprise to the world, too, when Israel did post that Yahya Sinwar was eliminated. You said you're an expert here, and when you look at their organization chart, you're not seeing many leaders you recognize. So who is next in line? Is there any indication of that leader that might emerge in Hamas?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we always try to look at the external and internal leadership structures. Inside Gaza, there's Yahya Sinwar's brother, Mohammed Sinwar, who by all accounts has been actually running the war on behalf of his brother. And it's possible that he steps up and fills that void. But this is not a well-trained commander. This is not somebody with extensive military background. He was a trusted aide to his brother, and it's now going to be interesting to see what role he plays. But I don't see him as being sort of a game changer who can revive Hamas after suffering the blows that it has suffered over the last weeks and obviously over the last several hours. Abroad, it gets more interesting. There are two individuals based in Qatar that I think have the potential to play a role. The very likely person, the most recognizable person left in that org chart is a guy by the name of Khalid Meshal. Meshal was the Politburo chief. He had been based in Jordan and then Syria, and then roughly a decade ago, he moved to Qatar. He was actually passed over for the position of the political chief of Hamas after Ismail Haniyeh was killed by the Israelis back in early August. He came out soon after trying to really, I think, establish maybe more relevance, and he actually came out and called for suicide bombings, the resumption of that very brutal tactic. And it earned him a few headlines, but he, I think, really shrank back into oblivion. People were not following him. I think now all of a sudden he is the guy that is likely to take over, literally, by the process of elimination. All the other leaders are gone. He's one of the only few people left that we recognize. I think there's an interesting opportunity, by the way, for the U.S. to use its leverage with the Qataris. The Qataris have long said that the U.S. has bought into the fact that there is a significant Hamas headquarters in that country. By the way, it dates back a lot longer than whatever agreement was signed with the Obama administration. The Qataris have been sponsors of Hamas for the better part of 2 decades now. But there is an opportunity to press for Meshal to be extradited, to force him to go on TV, preferably Al Jazeera, and call for the complete surrender of Hamas, to call for the release of the hostages. This would be ideal. Whether the U.S. is pressing the Qataris to do this, I don't know. The only other person in Qatar that I think is even remotely recognizable right now is the international spokesman for Hamas, a guy by the name of Hussam Badran. Both of them are figures that are at least recognizable to people that have followed the group for some time. But really, when you look out at at all of the senior ranks that are left, they're not senior at all. This is a group that has been eviscerated by war. It does not look like the group that carried out the 10/7 attacks. It is now a shadow of itself. I think that's quite good news.
So